everyone, how's it going? It is very, very good to be back with you. And shortly before we dive into this week's opening monologue, just a couple of really quick things. Firstly, I know there are some EA folks who are going to be stopping by. Magnus Archives fans and folks are here and stopping by. Friends, everyone from everywhere is welcome. I'm always really, really happy to see all of you, even though you scroll past as a variety of entertainingly coloured names in my peripheral vision. So, without further ado, just a quick breakdown of what we're going to do tonight. First off, there's an opening monologue. Think of this as the trailers, basically. This is just me talking to myself, essentially, getting comfortable with being on camera, and giving you a chance to get situated, get a drink, get a snack, make sure you're where you need to be, any meds that you need to take, all that good stuff. Once that's done, we'll give you a brief précis on the story we're doing at the moment, which is Search and Rescue by Kerry Hammond. We'll also give you a previously and a content warning. This is a creepypasta. There is content to be warned about in every part, and don't worry, we've got you covered. So with all of that in mind, I think it may be time to switch to the opening monologue. Yes, it is opening monologue time.
Which does not have a content warning.
No. So this guy's walking home from work really late in the pitch black of night. There isn't another soul on the street, and suddenly, from out of the gloom comes this ominous bump. 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 He looks behind him and spots this furtive, shadowy thing coming down the street after him. He is unnerved, so he picks up his pace, finally breaking into a panicked run, and he looks behind him again, and the shadow is closer. Bump, bump, bump. The glow of a streetlight illuminates the shadow momentarily, and to the man's horror, it is a coffin bumping down the sidewalk. He quickens his pace still more. Pardon me, running as fast as he can go, but the coffin only pursues him more quickly. Bump, bump, bump. He reaches his house, fumbles frantically for his keys, slips in the door just as the coffin reaches his front steps. He slams the door, leans against it, catches his breath. Bump, bump, bump. There is a moment's silence, and the man wonders if he dares to breathe. Suddenly, bump, 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 bump. Bump, 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 crash! He rebounds away as the door breaks off its hinges. Scrambling to his feet, he charges up the stairs and the coffin races after. Bump, 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 bump. Terrified, he backs into a corner and starts throwing everything within reach at the coffin. A handful of papers, a vase, a box of crackers, a lamp. It does not stop. Bump, 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 bump. Inches from his face. His hands fall upon a bottle of cough syrup. He throws that at the coffin. The coffin stops.
You just dad joked the chat.
I regret nothing. Nothing. Are we doing the other one as well?
You can do the other one.
I'll do the other one as well. Why not? See, that is exactly no! That is what I live for. Thank you for that.
All in the delivery.
All in the jazz hands. A woman lives alone in a large house on a hill. She is getting old and has someone bring her groceries as it is too much trouble for her. One week, her delivery boy notices that the groceries are piling up and decides to check in on her, only to find that she apparently passed away in her sleep. The sheriff arrives and they find a note stating that she willed her house and all her property to the county so long as they fulfilled one last request, which was to have her coffin placed upright in the attic, which had a large window overlooking the land. The request was fulfilled. Years later, a man was driving in a blizzard. He realized he desperately needed somewhere to get out of the storm. His car was struggling to move. The snow was only piling higher. So he sees a large house on a hill, drives as close as he can until the car just stops and continues on foot. Bangs on the door, no one answers, finds a window, goes in. The house is barren, deserted, much to his relief. While waiting out the storm, he explores and eventually makes his way upstairs. The door to the attic is unlocked, and he sees a coffin standing in front of a large window, as if it were watching the storm. He stares, confused and surprised, when suddenly the coffin begins to rotate until it faces him. It hops with a large thud. Another. The man yells out in shock, retweeting towards the towards the base of the stairs, feeling too injured to stand, but his pain is numbed by fear as he sees the coffin begin to descend the staircase, one step at a time. He crawls to the door. It's still barricaded by the snow. The coffin is halfway down the stairs. He moves to the window but is unable to climb out. The coffin is a dozen feet away. Desperately, the man reaches for his pockets, searching for anything. When he grasps something that gives him the slightest glimmer of hope, he throws it hard at the coffin as it stands before him, and the thuds stop. What did he throw? Dylan's cough drops, because they always stop the coughing. I swear that's the last one. Also, huge thanks to dear friend of ours, Andrew Reid, who's an incredibly talented author and who lives to throw jokes like that at his ever-expanding herd of ninja trilingual children. Andrew, thank you so much. They're awful. I loved them. So, where were we? It's been a week, hasn't it? In fact, it's been 2 weeks since we were last here, and those 2 weeks have corresponded with 3 things. 2 of them have been good. The thing which hasn't been good is basically every industry I work in, or which I am involved in some way, has turned upside down. And it's turned upside down by and large in a good way. This just never-ending torrent of sexual harassment cases and abuse and just horrible, horrible shit has been pouring out for 10, 15 days. And this is exactly what these industries have to do, in my opinion, in order to become the welcoming, inclusive communities they tell themselves they are, so they can sleep at night. And that's one side of it, and the other side of it is this stuff is exhausting, and there are people already using it to push personal agendas and settle old scores, and it's very, very tiring in that you kind of constantly whiplash between, yes, perhaps at last things can be as they should be, and, oh God, what, really, him too? And that's meant a lot of self-care has had to take priority, and self-care has been limiting doom scrolling to half an hour at a time instead of 45 minutes.
You still got the monologue thing on.
I do.
Just so you know. Sorry, everybody.
Camera big. There we are.
All right.
My apologies. I'm still learning my way around the new script. The script that Marguerite designed, because she's amazing. Yes, she is. So that's been the bad thing. The kind of good stuff is I feel like I'm finally turning a corner on a lot of the work. I've been getting quite stressed these last couple of weeks because I had an awful lot of stuff on. And I've just been trying to really push hard and land as much of it as I can. And a lot of it has started to leave my brain, which is really nice.
It's because Alistair relaxes by pitching for new work.
It's not a good system.
It's a fun system, but it's not terribly sustainable.
Yeah, and just once this latest raft of stuff is out, my hope is that I can turn my brain off for a little bit. Hopefully. And then, there is the other very, very good thing. Would you like to meet Chungus? This is Chungus. Chungus is our sourdough starter. Chungus is a very, very good boy. For a couple of reasons. Firstly, he is unintentionally hilarious to feed. Because it's like having a slightly feral milkshake. It's in the house. It's really strange. Because there's this weirdly counterintuitive thing where you basically throw away 3/4 of him and then add some more. And every time it happens, part of me's like, oh no, is he going to be alright? And then I look across and he's hammering on the top of the...
Show them like where he starts and then how big he is.
Marguerite has this system where she basically moves his name label to the level he's at when he's fed. Yeah.
He's a very growy boy today.
I think the phrase is chonk.
Feral milkshake is an excellent description, though.
So we did some sourdough pancakes over the weekend,
They were so good!
which Marguerite did, which were amazing.
But the batter made like 3 times as much as we could eat, so then
Yes.
we just made sourdough waffles to put in the freezer for later.
Yes. And then last night, I decided, a couple of hours too late, that I really should make some sourdough. So I got some discard and I started going through the whole system. And it is so involved. You have to prove it and knead it 5 or 6 times, and I did it 4. And we left it in the fridge overnight. I wasn't really expecting it to go anywhere. Yes, it's looking quite good.
Well, let me go get the one that's cut so they can see the inside.
Exactly.
Oh,
Horror and baking, so on brand. Yeah, I'm so happy with this. It actually looks like bread I would buy from somewhere.
I didn't need to bring them both. Sorry.
It's all right.
Here you go. This is the one that was the sacrificial victim on us.
This is the. That's a movie poster right there. This is kind of the equivalent to that first pancake, the one that never quite works right, but is still super tasty.
But show them the inside.
I am such a yeast nerd. Look at the structure on that. I'm just ridiculously happy with this.
And
Good grief.
It's all chewy but crunchy on the outside, and it's wonderful. And if I don't remove that pan, you'll eat that while you read the story.
Yes, I am.
Tell everybody say goodnight to Chungus.
Okay, everybody say goodnight to Chungus.
He will see you later. Good night, Chungus.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oop.
It's all good.
Once some of this stuff that I've got to do is out of the way, I'm actually considering a blog post about sourdough, which is 3 months late, but hey. But yes, it was really good fun, and it's super, super, super tasty too. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on with us, isn't it? Oh yes, you will notice behind me, perhaps.
Hold it up to the camera.
We are now 15 days of voting closing for this year's Hugo Awards. Voting hasn't opened yet.
But
Anywho,
we had to record potential acceptance speeches this week.
yes, which is it's a very weird counterproductive thing to do. To just pretend you've won a thing, just in case you might win the thing, and that's what we've done. But Marguerite reconfigured the letterboard that actually normally says search and rescue at the moment to go yay escape pod, because we've got a escape pod in the finals for best selling prozine. And we have me in the finals for best fan writer. So let's see what happens. Should be fun. Yeah. Let's move on to the recap.
And for recap.
Search and Rescue is a 8-part story.
Previously on.
I'm getting to that. It's all good.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I'm backstage stage managing. I need to find a way to actually be able to change the settings for you, but we haven't quite figured that out.
I'm learning the settings.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we are.
I just like to participate. I'm sorry.
You should participate more.
Okay.
Okay. So, previously on Search and Rescue, bong bong. This is a story by Kerry Hammond, which is about the recollections of a carefully unnamed search and rescue officer working in one of America's parks, and the curious and increasingly horrific things which SAR officers come across. There is a lot of death, there is a lot of disfigurement, and there are a lot of stairs. Stairs of every type, out in the middle of nowhere. Stairs which the SAR officers have been ordered, although no one can tell them why, to never, ever go up. Now, content warnings. Are we good?
It says monologue, doesn't it?
Yes, sorry.
It's okay.
Recap.
There
we
go.
are.
Previously
I'm so sorry. It's I've had a week off. We're rusty, and by we I mean absolutely me. Margaret's absolutely fine. Content warnings: death of children and infants, descriptions of gore and bodily injury, we're doing 2 here because part 5 is really short and they're all pretty rough. So please consider yourself advised. It is always loving margarita hours in this house. Margarita's amazing. See, she did the double entendre. She did the single entendre. I didn't have to do a single entendre.
Did you really just say that?
Yes, I did.
Oh, Ooh.
Oh, thank you for a milkshake. Thank you.
Apparently, unfortunately, there was a spill of ink and nibs, so hopefully the calligrapher is doing okay.
But yeah, because we love the calligrapher, and thank you. So that's the recap. One last thing before we dive in. If you need some food, get some. If you need some water, get some. If you have meds that you need to take them now. And let's go into the woods, shall we?
Hold on. Sorry. Camera big.
Camera big.
Camera big.
Camera big.
By the way, okay, I'm going to go on a slight detour here. We have a frying pan that's about to die because we cook constantly and we need to get a new one, and we wanted to get one that was slightly larger. We've already nicknamed it Big Boy Pan and we haven't even bought it yet. So I hope you're happy, chat. I hope you're happy.
Because he's a big boy pan.
He's a big boy pan.
He's a big boy pan.
By the way, Jorah has in fact posted a high-res version of the art on their art accounts, which we'll put a link to in the show notes tweet. Sound good?
Jorah, that art is superb. Thank you so much. And we will, of course, drop a link in the show notes. So, one more time. Content warning for profanity, death of children and the disabled, and graphic descriptions of injuries. Search and Rescue by Carrie Hammond. Part 5. I apologise for the short update, guys. Things have gotten a little crazy around here, and I'm not sure how often I'm going to be able to update going forwards. I really appreciate all the support you've given me, and while I only have a couple of stories to share with you, I would be really interested to see what you think. Here's the first one. A firefighter who was helping us at the training op told me about a call he'd gone on, supposedly to help rescue a kid from this just absolutely massive tree. He said they didn't give him details, just that they needed him to come out and help because they lacked the proper equipment. He'd been called out specifically because this thing was so huge that the SARs on site didn't feel safe trying to climb it. He'd actually been a tree trimmer before joining the VFD, so it was easy for him to grab his old equipment and come help out. He was led out about 2 miles, and the team stopped at one of the biggest trees in the area and pointed up. He laughed and asked the op captain how the kid had gotten up there, made some joke about the old cat in a tree thing. But the captain just shook his head and told him, get up there, get the kid down. He said he knew something was up, but he didn't push it. He said that as he climbed this tree, he started to wonder if they were playing a prank on him. There was no way this kid should have been able to climb this fucking thing. It was massive at the base, but about halfway up it started tapering. And he said he almost had to turn back a few times because he didn't think it was going to hold him. But he said he kept going, and when he was just about at the top, he saw a flash of blue in the branches. Saw the kid's shirt sort of caught in a branch, called out to him, told him to come down near me if he could, but he didn't say anything. Kept moving. Calling the kid's name, telling him not to be scared, that I was there to help him. But by the time I got to him, I knew he wasn't going to answer me. I found him, or what was left of him, cradled in the fork of a branch, and the fact that he was up there was sheer luck. If he'd fallen any other way, he'd have come crashing down. Wouldn't have mattered, though, because this kid was dead long before he ended up in that tree. I don't know who put him there, or how, or why, but it was fucking sick. Kid's intestines had popped out of his mouth. They were hanging. It was like some sick fucking Christmas tree, the way they were draped all over everything. I got a better look, and they were just everywhere. His guts were hanging out of the bottom of his pants. His eyes were gone, I assume shoved out from whatever force caused him to fucking pop like a stress ball. Have you ever seen a body that's been floating in water for a very long time? How their tongues kind of swell up, stick out? His was like that. I remember because there were flies crawling all over it. I think I must have gone into shock because I just pushed that kid down with a stick I broke off a branch. Just kind of poked him until he fell. Don't know why I did that. I almost lost my job because of it. But man, the thought of hauling that kid down over my shoulder the whole way, gathering his guts up and coiling them around me like rope, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I've seen a lot of dead kids, more than I'd ever admit. I've seen a kid who hid in a full bathtub during a house fire and it boiled him alive, turned him into soup. But this, I don't know what did this. But the thought of touching that kid's body made me feel like I was going to lose my mind. I heard him hit the ground. I figured everyone would freak out, but they knew he was dead when they sent me up there. They didn't say anything, but they also didn't shout or freak out or anything. I got to the bottom and I started to get in the captain's face, asking him who he thought he was sending me up there when they knew damn well the kid was dead. But he just told me it was none of my concern. And then he thanked me for getting the evidence down. I remember he said that. I remember it specifically because it was so weird to hear it phrased that way. The evidence. Like he wasn't even a person. Like he'd never been a little kid who got lost and something fucking unspeakable happened to him. The captain had a crew lead me back out of the woods, but he and 2 others stayed behind, and I thought that was weird too. Why wouldn't they have let me help? Why wouldn't they have me help get the kid out? I tried asking, but the guys leading me out, they said they don't discuss an open case. I asked one of them. I said I asked him what he thought had happened to the kid, and he got really pensive. Thought about it for a bit. I would have said a crash injury based on how his guts came out like that, but with those injuries, you see massive contusions under the skin. Obvious trauma, that's what he said. This wasn't like that. It was almost like that kid got caught up in a big vacuum and had his guts sucked out. But even then, there was no trauma. None at all. It bothers me, man. It bothers the hell out of me. So it turns out that one of the vets, the training op, reads no sleep. And he recognised my stories. He knows me pretty well. We've swapped stories before. He asked if he could share something he's noticed about the stairs and some thoughts he had. I'm really glad you decided to share these. I think it's important that people be aware of what's out there, especially since the Forest Service is doing such a good job at covering it all up. I asked him what he meant. What do you mean? What do I mean? The lack of any kind of media attention, no coverage of missing kids, bodies from miles from where they got lost in the first place. David Paulides hit this one right on the head. The FS is doing everything they can to keep people coming here, even if it isn't safe. I mean, to be fair, it's not like these things happen every day. But the numbers add up, and it's worth looking into, especially the stairs. I'm surprised you didn't mention the flipped ones. I didn't know what he was talking about. I couldn't remember him ever talking about something like that, and he seemed somewhat incredulous. Dude, I can't believe you've been on this long without seeing them. No one told you about them. I shrugged. Asked him to elaborate. Well, there's the normal stairs, right? The ones that pop up when you're out of ways. I know you know about them. But sometimes I've run across ones that are flipped upside down. I guess it would be like if you had a doll's house and the stairs are a separate piece. Now, take that, flip it upside down so the top step is stuck in the dirt, and put it out in the woods. They're like that. I don't see them as often, but they're odd, to say the least. It makes me think of footage taken after a tornado. You know, where houses are all blown apart and random things are left standing, like chimneys and garden walls. Those ones freak me out so much more than the normal ones, because I can't write them off as easily. I don't scare easily, like most of us who work out here, but that idea, that one stuck with me, and it bothers me. Mr. Quote mark, pardon me. I don't scare very easily, like most of us who work out here, but that idea stuck with me, and it bothers me. I'm going to try and find out more about them. He also mentioned how many people were bothered by the guy with no face. He got really excited and told me he'd seen something similar. I was out on a training exercise a few years ago. I was camped out in my tent, and I heard someone walking around outside a camp. Now, we are told to not wander far, which you know, so I wondered if maybe it was a rookie who'd gotten up to pee and couldn't find his way back. Remember that guy in our group a few years back, the one who almost fell off the damn mountain? Well, I'm paranoid about that happening again, so I got up to see what was going on. I went to the edge of camp, and I called to whoever it was and told them that camp was this way. But they kept going back out into the woods. So I went after them. I know it was stupid, but I was half asleep, and I just really didn't want to deal with some idiot getting hurt. I followed this thing on a dead straight course for about a mile, and then it stopped on the edge of a little river. I could see the outline of it because the water was reflecting the moon, and it looked just like an ordinary guy. He had a pack on, and it looked like he was facing me. I asked if he was okay, if he needed help, and he cocked his head like he didn't understand me. I always have my pocket knife on me, and it's got a little thumb light attached to it, so I turned that on and lit up his chest so I wouldn't blind him. He was breathing slow and deep, so I wondered if he was sleepwalking. I went closer, asked him again if he was okay, and I moved the light up and something didn't seem right, so I stopped. He kept breathing in this real slow, deep breath system, and I sort of figured out gradually that's what was bothering me. It's like he was pretending to breathe, but not actually doing it. His breaths were too even and deep, and all his movements were exaggerated, like his shoulders going up and his chest moving. I told him to identify himself, and he made this muffled noise, and I moved the light up, and I shit you not, he had no face, just smooth skin. I freaked out. I sort of fumbled my light, but I saw him move toward me, but he didn't actually move. I don't know how to explain it, but 1 second he was at the edge of the river, and the next he was 5 feet away from me, and I swear I never looked away or blinked. It was like he moved so fast my brain couldn't keep up. I tripped, of course, fell on my ass, of course, and I could see this line open up on his throat, and it stretched up to his ears, and his head tilted back, and he smiled at me with his throat, and there wasn't any blood, there was just this gaping dark hole, and I swear he smiled at me with this gash in his throat, and I got up and I ran as fast as I could. I couldn't hear him following me, but I felt like he was always right behind me, even though when I looked back I couldn't see him, and I calmed down when I got back to camp. The fire was still going, and I guess that pack mentality of being with other people made me stop and breathe a little, and I waited by the fire to see if he'd follow me there, but I didn't hear anything else for a few hours, so I went back to bed. I know it sounds weird, but the whole thing was just so surreal. It was like I almost immediately wrote it off, like I'd imagined it. We were telling ghost stories one night before bed just to scare each other and poke fun at whoever got creeped out. Most of the time it's the rookies, but one woman told a story that actually managed to get under my skin a little bit, and I know the same was true for others. She said it was true, but then again, every ghost story told around a campfire is true. Somehow, though, I don't think she was making it up. It had that ring of truth. You know the one, how something really traumatizing you just know. She said that when she was a kid, she and her friends used to go out in the woods behind a house a lot. She lived in northern Maine, where there's a lot of dense, unpopulated national forest. She said the woods up there aren't like they are here. They're so thick in places, the trees block out the sun almost completely. She and her friends grew up there, so they weren't scared of being out there alone, but they did always maintain a sense of caution in certain areas. She said it was never really talked about, but they always knew not to go more than a mile or two beyond their homes. The adults never said why, but it was an unspoken rule that no one ventured out that far. She and her friend made up stories about bears as big as houses that lived out there, and they used to scare each other by hiding and making growling noises while the other searched for them. She said one summer there was a series of awful storms that blew down a lot of trees and set one part of the forest a few miles behind her house on fire. Fire crews got it under control, but she said some of them came back not quite the same. It was like they'd been to war. You could tell who'd really gotten scared because they had the same look on their faces. I think it's called shell shock. My friend and I said they were like Walking Dead people. They didn't smile or say anything if you went up to them, and most of them left town as soon as everything was over. I asked my parents about it, but they said they didn't know what I was talking about. Once everyone was told the woods were safe again, my friend and I decided to try and hike out. Go take a look at where the fire had been. We didn't tell our parents where we were going, and it was pretty exciting to think we were disobeying them like that. So we hiked out about 2 miles or so, and we started seeing burnt trees and stuff. I remember my friend got really upset because we found the skeleton of a deer curled up under a tree, and I practically had to drag her away. She wanted to bury it, but I didn't want her touching it because its antlers were weird. I can't remember why. I just remember thinking that there was something wrong with them. I didn't want either of us going near it. The further we went, the more burnt everything got. Eventually, there were no standing trees, and it was like being on another planet. Almost nothing green, just brown and black everywhere. We were standing there looking at it all, and we both heard someone shouting in the distance. I panicked because I thought it was my dad, and that he was going to tell me I was grounded. My friend broke off and went to hide behind a big rock because she said she didn't want to be caught out here. Her parents had forbidden her to come out in the woods at all, and she'd lied and told them we were going to a movie. I followed her and we kept listening. I could hear this voice getting closer, and I realized they were calling for help. I thought maybe it was some hiker who'd gotten lost, needed directions back to town. That used to happen all the time. I was used to helping people out, so I heard him following my voice, and I kept calling out until I saw him running in the distance. He got closer, and I could see that his face was all red. I told my friend to give me her pack because she had a first aid kit, and she made this noise like she was grossed out because she asked if I saw his face. I told her to shut up, and I jogged up to meet him. I stopped about halfway, and when he stopped in front of me, I could see that his nose and lips and part of his forehead were all gone. It was like they had been sliced off. He was bleeding very badly, and I saw that the knees of his pants were red too. I took a step back, but I was too scared to move much, and he grabbed my shoulders, and it felt like I got a shock, and he jerked back. He started babbling, and I couldn't tell what he was saying, except that he kept asking how long he'd been gone. He asked me where his unit was, but I just shook my head. He looked me over and saw my Walkman, and he screamed. He just kept babbling and touching his face, and I realized he wasn't wearing the right clothing. He had some kind of weird grey cloth jacket and almost formal pants on, and the jacket had these weird buttons and red borders on it. I kept shaking my head, and I told him I couldn't understand what he was saying. I went to open the first aid kit, but he just screamed again, and said the only thing I could really understand, "Don't touch me! You'll make me go back there!" After he ran off, and I could hear him screaming the whole time, I turned around. My friend was crying. We just turned and walked back towards town. She asked me over and over what had happened and who that was, but I didn't say anything. When we got home, I told her I didn't want to play in the woods with her anymore. We're still friends, but we don't talk about that guy. Not ever. Thanks, guys. I'll update as soon as I'm able, and I appreciate the continued support. Part 6. It has been way too long since I posted an update, and I'm so sorry about that. There's also been some confusion about the new formatting requirements on the board, and I've cleared those up. So these next few stories are going to be posted a little differently. They're going to be in chronological order, and I'll do my best to tie them into each other as much as I can so it doesn't skip around too much. First one. When I started out as a rookie, no one told me a lot about the job in terms of weird things that could happen. I'm assuming this was, well, largely to prevent me from freaking out and abandoning the park. But a few months into my service, when I was still a rookie, a friend and I were drunk at a party, and he opened up a little bit. Yeah, it can get crazy out there. I guess I think the worst are the ones where people die when they shouldn't, you know? And when we find them dead like 10 minutes after someone says they saw them last. They were fine when I passed them on the switchback, I swear. That sort of shit. Like, take this guy I found one spring, out on a really popular trail. Someone comes into the VC freaking out about some guy who's lying in the middle of the path in this giant pool of blood. So we run out there and we find this guy dead as a doornail, which he absolutely should be because the back of his head is mashed potatoes. The skull is decimated. Brains are leaking out like custard filling. The guy's old, so you figure, yeah, he probably fell and hit his head. Old people fall all the time. It's no big deal. Except that this area where he fell doesn't have any big rocks. There's not even any stumps or big branches, and on top of that there's no blood trail. So he clearly died where he dropped. Now that's when you turn to murder, but there were people just out of line of sight with the guy. If someone came up behind him and murdered him, there is no way someone wouldn't have heard. And again, even if someone had, there'd be a blood trail, spatter all over the place. But everyone on the scene said it looked exactly like he'd fallen and smashed his head on a rock. So what the fuck did he hit his head on? And then there was this lady I found in a different park about 5 years back when I was upstate. We found her in the middle of a stand of big junipers, curled round the trunk like she was hugging it. We pick her up to move her, and a fucking waterfall comes out of her mouth. Splashes all over my shoes. The clothes were dry. Her hair is dry, but the amount of water in her lungs and stomach was phenomenal. Unreal, man. Coroner's report says the cause of death was drowning. Her lungs were completely full of water. This, even though we're in the middle of the high desert. There is not a body of water for miles. No puddles, no nothing. No signs of anyone else being out there. I mean, yeah, it's possible they were murdered, I guess. But why go out of the way to do it like that? Why not just fucking stab them and be done with it? I don't know. So it's weird with me. Now, of course, that freaked me out a little. But we were wasted, and I guess I sort of wrote it off as a fluke. I also assumed there was exaggeration there, since, you know, we were wasted. Now, I'm just going to break character briefly to point out that she hydrated until she dehydrated. Very nearly made me corpse. That's brilliant. Excellent line. Now, I don't like talking about this next case very much. It was an awful one, and I've done a lot to forget about it, but of course that's easier said than done. This happened about 6 months after the conversation with my friend at the bar, and up until that point, I hadn't had a lot of really weird shit go down. A few things here and there, and of course the stairs, but it's amazingly easy to get used to stuff like that when it's treated as if it's normal. This case was a little different. There was this guy with Down syndrome in his 20s, and he went missing after his family lost sight of him on a major path. That was odd in and of itself, because this guy never left his mom's side. Never. She was absolutely convinced he'd been kidnapped, and unfortunately, a ranger who isn't with the park anymore insinuated that no one was going to kidnap someone, well, with that kind of disability. Not tactful, not cool, to say the least. We wasted a lot of time trying to calm her down enough to get information about him, and then we put out an official missing persons call. Because of the urgency of the situation, him being mostly unable to function alone, we had local police come in and help us. We didn't find him the first night, and that was heartbreaking. None of us wanted to think of him being alone out there. We hoped he just kept wandering and was staying ahead of us. We brought out helis the next day, and they spotted him in a little canyon. I helped bring him back up, and he was in bad shape, and I think we all knew he wasn't going to make it. He'd fallen, and he'd broken his spine, and he couldn't feel his lower half. He'd also broken both his legs, one at the femur, and he had lost a lot of blood. He was confused and scared while he was alone, so he'd probably exacerbated the injuries by dragging himself a little ways. I know it sounds awful, but while I was riding in the copter, I asked him why he'd wandered off. I just wanted something to tell his mum, to let her know it wasn't her fault, because he was fading fast, and I didn't think she'd get to ask him herself. He was crying, and he said something about how the little sad boy had wanted him to come play. He said the little boy wanted to trade, so he could go home. Then he closed his eyes, and when he woke up again, he was in the canyon. I'm not sure that's exactly what he said, but it was what I thought the gist of it was. He kept crying, kept asking where his mom was, and I held his hand, and I tried my best to keep him calm. It was cold out there. He kept saying that. It was cold out there. My legs were frozen. It was cold out there. It's cold in me. He was getting even weaker, so he eventually stopped talking. And he closed his eyes for a while, and then we were about 5 minutes from the hospital. He looks right at me with these big tears running down his face. And he said, "Mama won't see me no more. Love, Mama. Wish she was here." And he closed his eyes, and he just never woke up. I was fucking horrible, and I don't like talking about it. And that case was one of the first ones that really rattled me very badly. In fact, because of how badly it affected me, I reached out to a senior ranger, and they ended up helping me through it. As time went on, and we got to know each other better, he ended up sharing one of his own stories with me. It was disturbing, but it helped to know that I wasn't the only one affected by the things going on out there. I think this must have happened before you got here. I think it had happened while you were here. If it had happened while you were here, rather, you'd have remembered it. I know it didn't end up in the news for some reason, but I think most people who've been here long enough know. The park sold off a portion of land to a logging company, and it was a very controversial thing. But it wasn't that large or old of a plot, and it was right after the recession, so we needed the cash. Anyway, they were felling this plot of land, and we got a call that we need to get some supervisors out right away. I don't know why, but they ended up sending me and a few other guys along with the heads, I guess for power and numbers, to see what was up. We got there, and all these guys are crowded around a tree that they've just cut down. They're all pissed off and freaking out, and the foreman comes over and says he wants to know what we think we're up to. What the hell you all think this is? Some kind of sick joke? You got a lot of fucking nerve pulling this shit. We bought this land fair and square. Well, we don't know what the bloody hell he's talking about. So he brings us over to this fell tree and points at it and tells us that when they cut it down, it was just like this, and they'll be damned if they put it there. The inside of the tree was all rotted out and hollow in one spot, and when they cut it down, it had exposed that chamber, and inside that chamber was a hand. Like a perfectly severed hand. And it looked like it had fused to the inside of the tree. Well, now, we think they're pulling a joke, of course, so we tell them that we don't like being fucked with, and we start to leave. But they tell us they've already called the cops, and that they'll go right to the meteor if we don't stick around. So, that gets the heads' attention. They stick around and talk to the police about it. Everyone is denying that they put the hand in there, and besides, how would anyone have even done it? It's clearly a real hand, but it's not mummified or skeletal, it's brand new, maybe not even a day old, and it is definitely fused with the wood. You could see that it's coming right out of it. The loggers, they insist they didn't put it there. Somehow this fresh human hand ended up fused to the inside of this living tree. The cops have them cut up that section of tree into a movable chunk. Then they take the hand away, and the area is closed off. There was a pretty big investigation, but I know they didn't find any answers. Now it's become this legend, and as far as I know, we haven't sold any more property for logging. As you all know, I went to a training seminar recently, and I heard some amazing and some horrible things there. One of the guys I talked to while I was there told me a story when we were all around the campfire one night. we were pretty drunk, you'll see a pattern, and we were swapping stories. He told me this one. Me and another guy were out on a field search because some campers reported screaming noises at night. So we head out there to look at whatever fucking mountain lion had wandered into the area, and I'm pissed. We've had 3 of them show up in the camping areas that year alone, and I'm getting tired as hell of constantly having to deal with them. Plus, I just don't like them, anyway. They're a pain in the ass, and they're loud, and they scare the shit out of me. Fucking cats. Pieces of shit. I'm groaning about it to the guy I'm with, and he thinks it's a real fucking riot. So, we're seeing all these broken branches, and what looks like dens, and we're pretty sure we know where this thing is. I call in, and they tell me to confirm, if possible, which, just means they want you to go step in a big pile of shit and use that as proof. I'm not seeing any, though, so I basically just tell them to shove it. I'm done. We know this damn thing's out here somewhere, even if I'm not stepping in its shit or inside its mouth, or whatever. The guy I'm with wanders off to take a piss, and I stay behind watching this little burrow under a tree, to see if maybe a fox or something is living under it. I love foxes. They're cute as hell. But anyway, I'm watching this tree, and I start hearing branches crackling, and it's coming from the direction my partner went opposite of. Now, I've got my pistol, but you and I both know that's not going to do a bloody thing against a cat. I cock it and holler for my partner to get his dumb ass back, but he's too far and he can't bloody hear me. So I stand up and I get my sights on where the thing is approaching, and I shit you not, I just about peed myself, because this guy is coming towards me, and he is backflipping through the fucking woods. Like, seriously, for real. Instead of walking, he's doing these crazy fucking backflips, and I swear to God he cleared every fucking log and bush in his path. It's like he knew right where he was going. I yell at the guy to stop right where he is. I tell him I am pointing a gun at him, but he keeps coming, and I just kind of lost it. Shot at the ground in front of him, and it was a dumb fucking thing to do, but I didn't want this guy anywhere near me. When I fired, he was about 50 yards from me, and as soon as the gun goes off, he whirls around and goes off, backflipping back into the woods. Now, my partner hears my gun go off and runs back and asks what's up, and I tell him, not unreasonably, that there's some fucking weirdo out here hopped up on God knows what, and we need to get the hell out of Dodge. I let the cops know what happened, and I didn't get in any trouble for firing my weapon. But man, I do not want to know what that motherfucker was on. I've never seen anything like that before. Shit was absolutely crazy. I think at this stage we can all agree that there is stuff going on out here in the woods. And while I'm not going to spout off about what it could be, or offer any theories, what I want people to take away from all of this is that it is so damn important to be safe when you're out there. I know a lot of you think you're invincible, but the fact is you can die out there or go hurt. You can die out there or be hurt or go missing. It's easy, so much easy. It's so much easier than you could ever imagine. I apologise for this relatively short update, guys. I will do my absolute best to continue this series as soon as possible. Thank you all for your continuing support. As ever, it means the world. And that's parts 5 and part 6. Hi.
The chat discussion turned to feet. So there
I-
was a general consensus that people would like to hold the tree's hand, which I don't recommend.
Hydrate before you dihydrate.
that one was very good. Okay, you can laugh about it now, exactly.
I've been holding that in for 15 minutes. I'm quite impressed.
All right. We are going to try something really quick. So give us a second here to set up. Give me the mouse, if you please. You're seriously tickled by that.
Dan, use your heelys to escape your feelies. Oh, thank you.
Right.
I have no mouse. I'm just moving my hand around over here. It's fantastic.
You're just supposed to talk to people. I'm the one who gets to talk. Now, so what I'm trying to do is I'm basically scooting Alistair over so that I can see the chat at the same time as he is, but I can talk and share links now. So.
Do you want to be on camera? Be on camera. Come on.
No.
Yes.
Hi. There, I was on camera. You're gonna have to make me brush my hair and everything.
In which case, camera next time.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm good. Hi, everybody. They can hear me. Everybody can hear me. That's all that matters. I'm not even sure if this is actually going to work. I'm just trying it as an experiment now. I'm watching the chat in 3 different devices, so this is lots of fun. But
I have no mouse and I must navigate my computer.
I'm just messing you up, aren't I? You know what? I'm just going to stay over here on my phone. You do your thing.
You're not messing up a thing. It's fine.
Oops. Second, I hope. Oh, see? You didn't even go anywhere. There you go.
Fantastic.
What was this?
Margaret, we love you.
Oh, you're all very nice.
Oh no, Haven, I'm so sorry. My internet dropped right at the end of the story. Did we have a couple of outages? I saw.
Apparently, Twitch has been quite on the fritz this afternoon. I don't even know if that's an appropriate thing to say anymore. Twitch was having technical difficulties during Annal's stream, and so some people had a whole bunch of problems. Is that Jara in the chat? Hello, Jara. How are you? Thank you so
Jara,
much
that
for
work
the
is amazing.
fantastic art. I have shared a link to it in the chat, but I'm gonna do it again because I can. As I do this on my phone and start singing la la la. There we go. They've posted a higher resolution version of it, as well as some close-up details.
Fantastic.
You know what it sounds like it's time for?
I do. I think it's time for. And
Ta-da!
now, shenanigans.
It is the bestest part.
Shenanigans is the brain sorbet, everybody. After the horrifying intensity of whichever piece of creepypasta I've thrown my northern voice and my cockney voice, and today my county's voice.
I noticed that. There were 3 voices this time.
3 distinct
We
voices.
did all
I've
like
grown
that.
as a thespian. Nothing but the best. It's time for something a little funny, a little gentle, something which directly involves me doing an appalling impersonation of Elias Bouchard.
So why don't you copy a link to that in the chat? I know what everybody is saying right now. Everybody would like us to do shenanigans of the GDPR sequel. Here's the ugly truth.
We haven't read it yet.
We haven't had a chance to read it yet. So, we're gonna not do that this week because we haven't had a chance to read it
But it will be
yet,
next week,
But
hopefully.
I'm pretty dang certain it will be next week's shenanigans once we get a chance to read it.
Fantastic.
For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, you've already beat me to the link. Thank you very much, chat. Well done. Yes. Can you click on that link for me so that I can read the title of it?
Yes, this one.
Yes, that one right there.
one right
Multitask. It is called Have You Tried Turning It Off and On Again? How the Magnus Institute Learned to Embrace the IT Ticketing System, upgraded their antivirus, and still found the time to teach one old man how to copy and paste. by Shiny Opals. It is the sequel, or a thematic sequel, to Beholding the GDPR, my favorite piece of fan fiction probably in all time. But we haven't read it yet, even though I see it starts with an email from Elias to Peter, so we're going to have to read it so that you can prepare for it.
God, look at the summary.
Okay, read the summary.
I hope you find your new role as head of the Institute as rewarding as captaining the Tundra, wrote Elias Bouchard to Peter Lucas. There are so many people working there, all with their own interesting lives, and all desiring your attention and support. I'm sure you will relish the challenge it will bring, and enjoy every moment spent with the fine men and women of the Institute. In time, I'm confident they'll become like a family to you. The Magnus Institute has a new boss. The Magnus Institute also has a new tech support technician. These two facts are unrelated, except they both happen at the same time. Meanwhile, John's woken up from being dead for 6 months, and for once, he's trying his best. He just wishes Martin would stop avoiding him and answer his messages. Yeah, we're absolutely...
Yeah, so that's going to be next week. That was just the summary, folks. That was just the summary.
Oh, Pezzy Chaos, you are my people. Nobody understands Excel, and if they say they do, they lie!
So yes, that will be shenanigans next week. But for shenanigans this week...
We have a Tumblr piece from Mothman is Real. I will put the link in the show notes now. This is a highly technical system where I hit paste and Marguerite hits record on the keyboard to my left.
Ta-da! So this is Elias.
I figured that out, yeah. And I'm just trying to figure out how I scroll between the panels.
You use the mouse to scroll.
I'm doing that now.
Okay, then you click on the next one. And then you click back.
Cool.
Okay. Highly technical difficulties here.
We can do this.
We can totally do this.
We can do this. Do it on the night. On my days off, I usually spy on my employees, using my patron of eldritch horror. Always have a nice cup of tea while doing so.
He's holding a tea mug that says, #1 World's Best Boss.
Sometimes my husband will come back from his long voyages with a gift for me. I usually know what he gets me, but I decided not to look recently.
He unwraps a box. It says, "My eyes are here," with arrows pointing in all directions.
It's a t-shirt, isn't it?
Yes.
Ugh. What? Needless to say, I'm in the process of getting a divorce.
He's sipping a cup of tea.
Huh? Oh, divorce? No. He's not going to go through with it. Never has. He'll demand I come over right this instant, Peter, at 1 a.m, show me the divorce papers, and then, well, that's behind closed doors. Oh, what'd you know? It's not even 4 p.m, and he wants me to come over. He must not have exercised today. So, any more questions? Preferably long-winded ones that need a lot of thought.
Don't you want to see what your husband wants?
Oh no, he'll get angrier if I leave him waiting, and that's the most entertainment I get lately. It's more fun that way anyways.
The final panel is Peter opening a door, and Elias maybe comes up to his elbow?
Yes. Elias charitably is at his shoulder.
It's adorable.
So yeah, that's pretty much the show for the week, I think, isn't it?
Those are the shenanigans we had this week. I think I had more collected, but it's been 2 weeks and a very difficult one. So unfortunately, that's what we've managed to collect. And we know next time it will be quite a lengthy shenanigan. We should probably go through it and maybe split up the voices if it's going to be a bunch of parts. I could read the technician, maybe.
There you go.
We'll take a look.
There we are.
That might be
some
fun.
It could be fun. Peter is, as you say, a big boy man.
The final Pam.
Oh my god, yes, Kato. I want someone to write the Guardian article.
Oh, the one that Gertrude sicks on Peter.
Gertrude nukes the stinky old man with a hot take.
That's
so good.
I saw on Tumblr today that someone had done an animation of just Gertrude giving Peter the side-eye. And he's like, peace out, and fades into the lonely, which was beautiful.
Mentally, I absolutely see Gertrude as Dame Judi Dench. You know that, right?
Yeah, but a little more grizzled. She's too posh.
Yes, doesn't quite have the same. Oh, for God's sake! Kind of the Judi Dench thing going on.
I need to have a think about who I would dream cast as Gertrude Robinson. That's a good exercise.
So not Helen Mirren then.
Again,
Too posh.
too posh. Though she did play
Shaw's mum in the.
Shaw's mom in the not most recent, but one of the most recent. There's just
With just the worst
so
Cockney
many.
accent. It's worse than mine. Oh, me poor mum. Oh, whatever will I do with me boy behind bars?
No, it's just the way
Crikey,
she's...
I'm thirsty.
It's the way she's sitting there, all proper Essex in her leather jacket and leopard skin pumps, drinking posh tea in an abandoned pub, where you just know 3 guys out of the car before her cleared the pub so that she could sit there and have that cup of tea. It's just, wow.
And that's not even the character. Helen Mirren actually has those people on staff. I wish to go somewhere and drink tea. You, Michael, make it happen.
Yeah. The other thing that we were going to do, in the before time when people were allowed to travel, is we were going to go to Aldgate East and take a photo of you in front of the tube station sign. And with me, off screen, just holding a newspaper rolled
over my
up
head.
over his head in shot.
Oh,
That may still happen.
Zalia, Victoria Wood is a very northern Gertrude. That would just be wonderful. That may happen in my head forever now.
The Gertrude Guardian article is an inspired idea.
It really is.
It really
Good job,
is.
Kato.
If somebody in this chat winds up doing so, I see you, Silver, then do send us a link. Good. Self-perpetuating shenanigans. That's what's happening now.
Fantastic.
All right. Do you want to close us out?
Yeah.
Ta-da! Good job!
Thank you.
Oh, wait, hold on. I have a very serious question for Marguerite. How on earth do you have an American accent being around so many wonderful accents? Okay. So, I have been in the UK... Oh, gosh.
This might be the 10th year.
No, this is 8. It was 2012. Came over in autumn 2012. I have to be very, very careful of what I call linguistic shift, because it's really easy once you start adapting to the vocabulary. You start saying lift instead of elevator and bin instead of garbage can. When I go back to the US, my American family is like, "Oh, your accent's coming in," and I'm always like, "No, dude, oh my God, for sure, like totally, I'm still a Californian." Because otherwise it's very, very easy. And Alistair gets the exact opposite. People can't tell where his accent's from. They just kind of guess. They're like, Irish? Australian? And we're like, well, he's Yorkshire, but he lives with a Californian, and it kind of comes across mixed as a result.
Also, the Manx accent is profoundly weird. It's one part Irish, one part Liverpudlian.
Oh, Jax, I can be Southern too. My grandma's from San Antone. I can pull that off. I just don't because I talk too fast. Anyway, go ahead.
So basically, just we are a linguistically confusing pair of humans,
We are
aren't
a
we?
linguistically confusing pair of humans these days. Oh, Kato says, I just wanted to say Alistair looks really good tonight. Good combo of camera stuff and shirt being good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I put this on because earlier tonight, like I say, we recorded the acceptance speeches just in case they end up being needed. And I was feeling fancy, so I thought I'd keep it on.
Fancy boy in a collar, in a shirt with a collar. You want to tell people about your convention hack?
Which one?
The one you're wearing right now.
Oh, yeah, this is... I have the same thing that Matt Albee, one of the lead characters from the single-season show Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, has, which is clothing is a hack for me. It helps me focus. And a lot of the time, especially in genre fiction conventions, and especially literary ones, 2 things will happen. If you're an older guy, you dress like Neil Gaiman's dad. And if you're a slightly younger guy, you dress like Neil Gaiman's son. And I choose to not do either of those things. What I choose to do is, when I'm not working a show, which used to happen, I'll just be in jeans and a t-shirt or something like that. If I'm working a show in any capacity at all, I'll wear a shirt with a collar. polo shirts for default. Sometimes it's been long sleeve shirts, but it's a no, this is a job mental switch that gets flicked when I put one of those on, and it really helps.
Yep. Totes profesh.
Totes profesh.
And with that, I really did. I thought you were going to say I don't do either of those. I dress like Neil Gaiman. No, Neil Gaiman wears nothing but black. And you have to be exceedingly wealthy to get away with an outfit like that. And I personally have worn my lifetime supply of black. I'm a professional, and most suits come in black by default, and it gets really, really old after a while. So we don't wear a lot of black clothing, to be honest.
Dinosaur collared shirt. Nice.
What is a dinosaur collared shirt? Is that like a shirt that is embroidered with dinosaurs? Or no, see, Robin, no, I am not a goth. I am negative goth. I have negative 10 goth points. I used to have a button that says negative 10 goth points, and I lost it, and it was like my favorite thing ever.
Well, that's obviously something I need to
I am the opposite
find for
of goth.
you.
Dinosaur print on the collar. Ooh, very nice. Yes, Macaulay Court Smart means black all the time. Because nobody gets to wear anything that doesn't look like you're going to either court or a funeral. And it gets so boring all the time.
Goth.
Yeah, there's a lot of votes for goth. Negative 10 goth points. I have a button machine and I'm not afraid to use it. Oh,
please
no.
do. If you could, that would be lovely. And let me know. I'll do, money stuff.
So he says, I just like getting dressed up for con panels. It makes me feel professional and get into character. I don't disagree with you. I do much the same thing in that I try to leave jeans and t-shirts for the social parts of conventions, and I like skirts or trousers or dresses for the working parts of conventions. If nothing else, it's because it's a nice, to have a change of clothes, because conventions are hard work and you get sweaty and stinky, and then you want to go change and put on something nice and clean afterwards. Ooh, buttons. Have a good night, Maddie.
Night, Matty.
In fact, I think this is a pretty good time for us to wrap up as well.
I think it is too. Thank you so much, folks. This is an absolute blast. We love doing this, and I'm so happy to see you showing up and listening to me do weird voices and talk about awful things in the woods, and of course shenanigans. No, this is really good fun. Thank you. We'll be back next week at 10 p.m. when there will be shenanigans, and there will be either the penultimate part of Search and Rescue or both parts. We haven't quite locked that in yet.
Yeah, we have to check the word count on
Yes, because it was like 25,000 words, and we've got the GDPR thing. That might take a while.
Tech support thing.
Yeah. GDPR 2.
The sequel, GDPR 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
Data harder.
Yes.
2GD, 2PR. Oh, God. Stop.
Moving on.
Quickly. Move quickly.
We are also, Sunday mornings, British summertime, doing a couple of hours of coffee, relaxed chat, and Concrete Genie, which is legitimately one of the most beautiful video games I've ever seen. And I think we're in the end game for that now. So if you want to hang out on Sunday morning and chat, get in touch, and we'll see you there.
There's one other thing that's coming up this month now.
There is, isn't there?
Let me check when the date is again. It is the 26th of July.
Oh, yes. On the 26th of July, we will be doing this for Rusty Quill.
That's right. 26th of July, Alistair will be on the Rusty Quill Sandbox. And we've already picked the shenanigan for that.
Oh my.
And we have probably a standalone story as far as the story is concerned. So we will see you on the main Rusty Quill chat that night.
Yes.
Or afternoon, I hope. I know Alex sanctioned shenanigans. We want to get Alex to do like a little recording that says, "Hi all, Alex here, and I've approved this." But, we're working on it. We'll see if we can actually get it. It's that, or we're just going to get some sort of like giant stamp that says Alex approved. Joke.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can actually pull that off. So, yeah. Heavenly, it'll be on Sunday, July 26th. I think we're locked in for 8 p.m. UK time. I'll need to double check that.
Yeah.
But it'll be in the evening because it's going to be another one of these. It's going to be a bedtime kind of scary story and some extra special shenanigans.
We also have an offer for the Alex approved stamp.
Oh, Alex approved stamp. Yay. I want to get him. I do want to get him to do the recording because then it just so multi-purpose.
Let's get the stamp as well.
So incriminating.
Yes.
So in my back pocket. I'm
so
sorry. Did I say that out loud?
So glad you're on my side. Alex does not approve stamp.
See, he can do both. he could. It could just be Alex with a thumbs up or a thumbs down. You know, that's all we would need.
Yes.
Something like that. Exactly.
There will be a thread of show notes on Twitter shortly after we sign off. That does include a recommendation for a horror movie, which, this is complex, I'll just take a run at it. Isn't that good? And it has a ridiculous ending, and the trailer's really spoilery, but there's this end of the second act reveal that just blew my mind when I first saw this 16 years ago, and it's kind of loosely relevant to Search and Rescue. So if you can find it on YouTube, because I don't think it's available on DVD anymore, watch it. Maybe just up until that reveal. Please, if you have clips, tag us. We love clips. The VOD will be available for 2 weeks on Twitch, and then will be archived on YouTube.
Yes. We are YouTube archiving the complete VODs now, as well as just a separate video of the narration story, so that if you want to just listen to the stories again, you can, and if you want to have all the raw shenanigans,
you can have that too.
You can have that too, exactly.
Fantastic. Thank you. This has been brilliant, as ever. We will see you next time. Thanks once again to the fantastic Ryan for our just amazing music.
Yep.
And have a good one. We'll see some of you on Sunday morning, and we will see the rest of you back here in a week.